So for the past 11 months, I've made my own art easel out of a bunch of 2x4s and a huge 4x8 chipboard. So now that 11 months have gone by, I really have a better idea of the type of easel I really want. After doing some online scouring and figuring out what that thing was, I decided on doing a wall easel. This was an idea that I actually got from Brooke Ring, who is another artist that I follow on Instagram, and she came up with a DIY wall easel format that I really liked, and it basically goes like this. You have a set of wood boards, you drill holes, take 1/2-inch dowels, put the dowels into the holes, and you can hang up your artwork to work on it at adjustable heights. That was really what I was looking for. So sit back and watch as I fumble my way through making my own DIY wall easel. Let's go. Now, taking this thing apart was a real challenge because that chipboard is not light. This thing was heavy. There was just a lot of stuff that was way bigger than I am, and I was just worried that I was going to topple everything over in my studio, so I moved everything out as much as I can to give myself as much of a wide berth as possible so I can bring down the chipboard and lay it on the floor. So now that I disassembled the whole entire easel, it was now time to figure out how I was going to cut the chipboard. I will take the chipboard that I just disassembled from the easel, cut it into 4-inch long strips, and go about it that way. Now, considering that this thing took 2 people to bring up the stairs into my studio that's above our garage, there's no way I was going to be doing this by myself. Instead, that I was going to bring the circular saw up into the studio and just do the work in-house. My circular saw, ear protection for the wind, ripped cut them as best as I could with my track, and then I was ready to move on to the next step. Vacuum all of the sawdust that had found its way into every nook and cranny in my studio. I took all of my important art pieces and put them in the closet so they wouldn't get affected by the dust, but holy mackerel, there was so much sawdust everywhere. 'Twas a mess. 'Twas a very, very sawdusty mess. So now that I have my boards all properly cut up, I could then bring it on down into the basement, not the basement, the garage, and start to drill holes into each of the pieces. So what I ended up using was a 1/2-inch drill bit, pierce holes every 5 inches down the center of these wood slats. I'm gonna keep calling them wood slats until I think of a better word for it. So now here's the other part of my plan that I did not say until just now. I'm gonna be doing this exact same system, but for 2 other walls in my studio. A hammer and nail really wasn't doing it for me. I had so many different pieces with so many different dimensions, and having to make a hole in the wall every single time, it was wearing my walls thin, pretty much with a bunch of holes. Yeah, so I really got my work cut out for me. So once I was done drilling and nearly throwing my back out a couple times, it was time to bring these pieces back up into the studio and figure out exactly where to put everything and how to space everything. And what I decided to go with was a group of 2 slats together, having them about 4 inches apart between the slats, and then I would have about 4.5 to 5 inches of space between that group of slats to the next group of slats, and then I would repeat the same process. At first I was debating orienting the slats horizontally instead of vertically because the amount of toil it took to make sure that the holes were all aligned, it would make a monk cry. It took literally 2 days and several hours of re-drilling, replastering the walls, but we persevered, we got through it. I've managed to figure out a system where I can take 2 pieces, put my dowels on each one, put my level on it, and see whether they were level and drill this into the wall. Now, here's the other snag, because there's always a snag. I don't think I ever hit a stud while putting any of these pieces in. So what I ended up doing instead, drill pilot holes into the wood slats, drill in a screw into each one of those, place it on the wall where I want it to be, make sure that it's level, press the wood into the wall so that the screws on the other side would pierce into the wall. I would take that board down, put the wall anchors into the pierced holes, line everything back up again, and drill. And I did that for every single board. It was a production, as it always is in my studio. But as I was laying down the last drywall anchor and screwing in the last screw, we hit another snag. Okay, so we gotta talk. Trying to take the pegs out of the holes is a little tough, and if I have to do that all the time when I'm painting, I'm gonna get frustrated.
Honey, you've got a big storm coming.
I'm probably just gonna take this and put it on that wall right over there, so it's kind of mirroring what's happening on this wall over here. So yeah, once again I'm gonna have to be taking these down so that I can relocate them and then put up new ones over here. And I went out and bought more wood. Once again, drill holes into them because I haven't drilled enough holes in my lifetime. Once I do that, I'm just going to go and pop them right back up here, and the fun continues. Now, my life wouldn't be complete if I didn't have to do the same task that I already did for the past 2 days all over again, because that's exactly what I had to do. I had to make so many holes and so many boards, once again, killing myself to make the perfect DIY wall easel. Worth it. And here's the kicker. I saw this other idea from another artist. Instead of doing one set of holes running down the entire length of the board, I decided to do 2 sets running down the entire set of the board. So really doubling the amount of holes. I thought it was a great idea. My hands didn't think so. I've made 2 holes here. That way I can kind of have a little more adjustability when I'm putting in my paintings and where I want to hang them, because sometimes I just want it to be a little more to the left or right by about an inch or so. So that'll help. So let's just cut to me having done all the boards already. 3, 2, 1, ta-da! I'm gonna go put these up. Again. So here we are again doing the insane dance of having to install these boards in the insanely specific method that I described in order to make them nice and sturdy and not fall straight off my wall when I'm mid-painting. Now, I want to address this because it's bothering me watching this back. I have this weird bald spot right in the back part of my head. That's a band-aid because I am in the middle of doing some surgical procedures on my scalp. A lot of the time it results in stitches. So what you see behind my head is a band-aid over a fresh stitch. So yeah, just wanted to address it. And once I got the last screw drilled into the wall, I knew that I was definitely not finished. Not finished at all, not even close. It was as if the twister from The Wizard of Oz took every godforsaken thing that was in Kansas and dumped it into my studio. With my trusty shop vac, I decided to give this studio a much needed clean. Once everything has been cleaned and de-dusted, pulled out the paint that I used for this particular wall. I had some paint left over, thank God. So I pulled that out, mixed it up, decided to just cover everything up, including the wooden slats that I just drilled in there. I wanted to make this look like a seamless wall. I don't want the wood to be sticking out or being really apparent. I want it to all kind of blend. It's not really gonna matter anyways because I'm gonna be painting all over this and causing a huge mess as it is, but it's the thought that counts here. I want it to look seamless. I wanted it to look aesthetic, and well, maybe I'll change it in a year, but this is what we're going with right now. And once all the wall boo-boos were covered up with my paint, I decided to also do the same thing on the other side of the wall, where I'll be hanging my artwork as well and painting the other slats on the other side of the wall that same white color as the wall, so everything kind of blends into the background and not pulling attention away from the artwork itself. And I gotta say, it's very satisfying to watch it all come together. Here we are. We finally come to the portion that I've been long awaiting for. Put the pegs into the holes and start hanging up my artwork. There's a snag, of course, there's always a snag. The holes are very snug with the pegs, so it's like really hard for me to put the pegs into the holes without like cramping my fingers. So what I'm gonna try to do, kind of force the two together, kind of open it up a little bit, and over time I'm hoping that the more I use these pegs, the more the holes will perfectly fit around everything. And also I'm gonna be cutting more of these pegs and sanding them just to help guide everything where it needs to go. Here we go. Yikes. Yeah, so by me doing that, it kind of opened up the hole a little bit. Still a little tough to get out sometimes. Well, it's not without its kinks. but that's okay.
I think what I'll just do is I'll go make some dowels and move on from there and start hanging stuff up.
So now we're hanging pictures on the wall, which I thought would be super easy and super fun to do, but nay, there's another snag. Putting the pegs into the holes themselves was a very tedious thing to do. So I needed to use a mallet to center the peg into the hole and tap it in. And because I would do this, any other painting that I hung up on the wall would start to like vibrate and actually fall off the wall. I had a few fall on my head a couple times. Lesson learned. I had to take down all the pictures, figure out where I wanted them to be hung up, then take the peg with the mallet, tap it in. Once I figured out where everything was gonna go, hang everything up. It's an extra step in the process. It's a pain in the ass, but I think it actually was worth the trouble, and I won't have to be doing this manual labor so much in the future because I'm doing the work now. I hope. From there, I was able to start putting everything back to its proper space. Like I said, this place was a wreck and it needed to be cleaned ASAP. That means cleaning the paints off my glass palette. That means reorganizing all of my items, my mediums, my paints, everything into new spots so that I can really work in a smooth flow.
Let me give you a tour of the general layout of my studio here. So we're gonna start here. This is where I do all of my processing work, my admin work, my video editing, all that stuff. I got my scanner printer, I got my Mac Mini, iMac display, and then moving on over here, this is my creation station. I mostly use this glass table as my palette for my oils, and these are my oils right here, and all of my oil essentials like cotton rags and additional paint pigments all in there. And then here just houses all of my drawing materials, my markers, and all of my oil mediums that I use. So that's pretty much in that zone right here. Then going over to this area, this is my DIY easel. It's looking good. I went ahead and added this light fixture right here just so I can have some extra lighting when I'm working on my piece, and I just put in 2 pegs, hung this up clamp style, and I can always move that around if need be, which is fantastic. And then I also have my heat gun hanging off by a peg as well. I have my 2 lights that I'll just keep off to the side here, so when I'm done with a painting and I need to do some photo shoots, I can literally just plop it on this wall, grab these, set them up super quick, and then we'll be ready to do pictures. And then over here is another glass palette I will normally use for my acrylic paints, and this has got all of my acrylic painting essentials, my spray paints, as well as my watercolors. And here I have more of my collage stuff, so like old books that I have, more pegs for extra hanging potential. And this is where I keep all my spray bottles, paper napkins, paper towels. I have extra canvas under there. And then I just keep all my other mixed media work stuff here. So my inks, gloss gels, my gesso, all that stuff. These are my sketchbook, and these are just my collage papers. And then moving on over here, my varnishing packing station. So this is my glassine paper, a weight scale. When I ship out my packages, I can just buy the labels online, do it that way, and just a bunch of other varnishing essentials. We're going to go over here. These are my extra canvases for future projects. And for right now, this is just a table that's going to hold all of my big paper pieces that I can't really hang up at the moment. And this is a nifty little thing. So our dishwasher broke and we had to get a new one. And the dishwasher rack was a very convenient mechanism for storing extra paintings, and it's got little wheels, so it's actually easy for me to kind of pull it back and forth and whatnot. So that's just additional storage for all of my paintings that I don't really want to display on the wall. And of course, these are the paintings that are on the wall right now being displayed, and what I love about this is I can just mix and match, take some off, put some more on, and I don't even have to drill any holes, which is great. Again, on this wall, same idea. I think it turned out really well. This is not the most perfect solution, but I think it's a better one than just the hammer and nails. I have a lot more versatility in arranging the pieces the way I like. And we are here. It's functional. It's beautiful. I love it. I say let's give this a whirl, because I have a Christmas present to make. So I gotta get to painting right away. Let's test this bad boy. A 16 by 20 canvas. That is so cool. That is so cool. And if I wanted to do that, I could too. That's great. Fantastic. Only thing I had to get used to was when I'm applying pressure onto one side, the whole thing just wants to come down. I think I just have to learn how to apply pressure just a little differently so that I can keep this thing on the board itself, not toppling around. It's not perfect, but it'll do.
So that is my DIY wall easel setup and my new studio tour setup as well. I'm a big fan of this studio setup. It's just really clear of clutter. I'm able to work and move around and not bump into a lot of things or feel like I'm not using the space to its fullest potential. Yeah, I really like it. I hope you enjoyed it. Please give this video a like and to subscribe to my channel if you like this video and want to see more of this from me in the future. All right, everyone, I hope you have a marvelous, fantastic day, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!